Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Deraney, and I'm your host. Hey, Jack. It's nice to see you again, my friend.
Thank you, Drew. Thanks for having me.
You know, I know that the audience can't see it, but the picture behind you, I've always admired it and never asked you who was on the wall.
That's Camilla Cabello. Camila Cabello. I don't know who she is. I'm in my office today.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. No, it's I like it. I'll do a little research and I'll let you know about it. So how was your Father's Day?
It was decent. Went to church, went for a nice hike with my wife, smoked a cigar, had some fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I got a chance to spend it with my three kids and my mother, so it was a nice day. Absolutely nice day. So, welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It. And I always love having people on this show because we've all had challenges in life, and depending on the guest, some challenges are not challenges for that guest, and some would be tremendous crises for another. And so one never knows how a circumstance will affect an individual until it happens to them. So, you know, and I know I'm getting to know a lot about you, and I admire everything you've been doing and done and what you've gone through. And having had you on Dad Will Know, and we talked about fatherhood, I thought it'd be great to have you on this show so we can talk about things that really defined you, happened in your life that have defined you and really molded you who you are right now. So your choice to go as far back as you want, and think about a defining moment in your life that made you stop, pause, think, and realize there was another way.
I'd have to say the transition from high school to college.
Okay, I'd love to hear about that.
I played football from Pee Wee through college, except for my freshman and sophomore year and my 10th grade year of high school. And I wrestled and I played baseball and all that. And I took my 10th grade year off because I didn't feel like I was big enough and I wanted to get strong. So I started lifting weights. Well, my coach didn't like that I didn't play that year. Um, so I got a lot of razzing for that. And I'll never forget the last game of my senior year. He didn't play me or half the seniors the whole game,
Hmm.
like not one play. And it just pissed me off. And I kept carrying a grudge. And I'm like, well, this is stupid. So I go to my freshman year of college, and the college I went to for my freshman year didn't have a football team. So we started a weightlifting club, and we would go into the different communities. And we had Paul Wren, who at the time was the strongest man in the world, come along with us and do a bunch of competitions and stuff. Just kind of talk to the guys about Grace College, college I went to, and what Jesus meant to us. And then I was still carrying this grudge towards his coach, and I was like, this is stupid. He's not affecting my life. He doesn't even know it. Like when you carry a grudge, it's like, what do they say? It's like swallowing poison and hoping it to help hurt the other person.
Right, exactly. They have no idea you swallowed it. So
Right. So I was dating a girl at the time who was from Colorado, which is where I live. And um, at the end of our freshman year, she's like, I can't afford to come back to the school. You ought to look at the school in Colorado with a football program. So I came out here on a football scholarship.
okay.
And instead of holding that grudge, I was like, well, I'm just going to prove wrong, right? So I was captain of the team for 2 years. I was all conference for 2 years, and it's just kind of like, thumbing my nose at him, saying, "You didn't play me, and see what you missed," and that kind of thing. But that's probably the first time I had a shift, and I went into college as a freshman at 17 years old, and so I was 19 at the time, and 19, 20, 21 on the 5-year plan. Um, that was about it. My parents always said, "You're going to college. You're going to college. You're going to college." My brother's 11 years older than me, and he said he told my parents, he goes, "Whatever you do, make sure Jack goes away to school so he has the true college experience."
Mhm.
And I did, and my whole family's still back in Ohio, and I'm kind of the black sheep for being in Colorado for 34 years now.
Wow. Wow. And you made that switch because of the girlfriend at the time,
Yep. And
right?
what's funny is I broke up with her before I ever came out to Colorado.
That is that amazing how that happens? And then you went out there and you were able to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset by shifting your attitude towards football. And I mean, you were cutting off as they say, cutting off your nose to spite your face, not playing the game you loved because you were blaming somebody else
Yep.
for your attitude. So good for you. So that actually is a huge defining moment because I'm sure, well, you tell me, other stuff that came up after that, the growth mindset more often than not probably kicked in, right?
Yeah, and it's unfortunately for me, it was kind of it took me until I was into my career to have that. Like I kind of
Yeah.
wasted college. It came easy for me. I didn't want to be there, but I was there to play football and have fun.
Right, right, right,
I was a B student, um, and then when I graduated, I was like, I still have no idea what the heck I want to do with my life. You
right,
know,
right. Yeah.
I still joke today. I'm almost 55, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to be if I grow up.
I say the same thing.
So I just keep looking for different ways to fulfill myself, different ways to give back to people and
Mhm.
community. But it took me until probably my first my third year out of college. So my first 2 years, I worked for a finance company. I hated it. You do
Yeah.
lots of collections, charging 36% interest when you could. I mean, I don't even know how it's legal, but you did.
Yeah.
And so I was tired of being in that role, and I said to a buddy of mine, I said, "What do you do for work?" He was a liability claims supervisor for Farmers Insurance,
Okay.
and he kind of raved about his job for like an hour. And I said, like, okay, you guys hiring? Give me an application. So I came in as a personal injury claims representative.
Okay.
And in the claims industry, they always say you go through like three phases. Three phases. The first one is like you owe everything. Everybody deserves everything. The second phase is nobody deserves anything. They're all a bunch of fraud,
Oh
that kind of
God.
stuff.
Yep.
Because you see it all the time. And in the third phase, it's screw it, just pay
Ah.
it.
Oh my
but
gosh. Yeah.
but I remember being a personal injury claims rep, and yeah, it wasn't every insured that you worked with, but quite a few of them would have the opportunity to talk about personal growth
Okay.
and what can they be doing besides going to physical therapy, besides going to a chiropractor, that kind of stuff,
Right.
and really taking an interest in that person getting better instead of just doing a job.
Is
And so,
that ended up what you started acting like
yeah.
rather than the three phases? Okay.
So I took I progressed pretty quickly. I handled personal injury claims for a year and a half. Then I handled auto claims for a year. Um, then I handled fraud. I was the part of the national fraud team.
Got it. Good. Okay.
Then it came back to personal lines or homeowners claims. Then I became the auto supervisor. Then I was a personal line supervisor, and then I became the facilities manager for the building
Oh,
for our
wait, how did you jump from that to
but
facilities manager for the building?
because I had just finished my master's degree and I wanted to get into some kind of leadership, and that's what was open, so I applied for it.
Got it. Okay.
And then I got into management with personal lines, and then I volunteered to be a part of the local response corps, which is part of the catastrophe team.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then it started off, they wanted you to be gone like 3 days a week, 1 or 2 weeks a month. Then it was 3 weeks a month. Then it was 5 days a week, 3 weeks a month. Then it was, we just need you on the road. So I was traveling about 27 days a month,
Well, doing what? Doing the
man,
catastrophe?
managing catastrophes. I had a team
Yeah.
of about 120 people underneath me,
Wow.
managers, supervisors, and claim reps.
Okay.
I was one of the first people on the ground whenever a catastrophe would hit. So it was like at Katrina, at Rita, the Joplin tornado,
Oh,
the
so
San
it
Bernardino
wasn't just in
wildfires.
Colorado. You're talking about
Uh,
all over the country.
Yeah,
Wow.
all over the place. Hailstorms in the Midwest, ice storms
Wow.
in Seattle. And I hated being away from my family, my friends, my church.
Yeah.
And I kept looking for a management position to open back up in Denver, and nothing ever did. So a position came up in Fort Collins. So I stepped down and became a supervisor and drove from the south side of Denver to Fort Collins, which now is about a 2 hour commute.
Okay.
And I did that 4 days a week for about 2.5 years,
Wow.
hoping something would open up in Denver. And I'm like, this is stupid. I'm still not seeing my family. I'm still,
Yeah.
by the time I get home, they're getting ready to go to bed, and I leave before they're up in the morning.
Yeah.
So I stepped down again where I was, 18 years prior as a claims representative, and I was a large loss claims representative, and I did that for a couple of years. And they were like, we're paying you what we could pay 4 claims reps to do
Here
because
we
they
go.
let me
And
they
had a
let me
feeling
keep
that was coming. Yep.
they let me keep my salary the whole time, and then they said, well, we don't need your expense anymore. So I was without a job, and thankfully I have a buddy that we've been in. I'm in a musician, and we've been in bands together and stuff. But he owns a construction company, and he owned a sound company. Like they
Right.
would they would do the back line and the sound reinforcement for concerts and stuff. And I said, hey, Craig, you know how you're always asking me to come do a business plan for you and kind of get your business in order? He's like, yeah. I go, you still want me to do that? He's like, yeah. He goes, when can you start? I said, how about tomorrow? He said, okay. So
Great.
I walked out of Farmers with a box in my hand and had a job the next morning. I said, this is temporary until I find something I want to do. And it was a significant pay cut, but it allowed us to, we never had to miss a mortgage payment or
Right.
anything like that. We stopped
Right.
our wine club, we stopped our cable subscription. That was about it. And that
Yeah.
was only for about 5 months. So then a buddy of mine from my church's worship team was a monster bass player. I'll try to keep this short. He goes, you ever considered doing sales before? I said, no, never. Because to me, sales was like the smarmy used car sales guy. Hey, what's
Yeah.
it going to take to
Right.
get you into this car today, buddy?
Right.
And he said, no, that's not what it's like at all. He says, you build relationships with your clients, you help build their business, you get to know their families and, pretty intimate information about their business and their personal life because you're working with them on that kind of a level. I'm like, all right, keep talking. So he kept telling me about the job. And he's like, everybody I see in the parking lot and the sales team is driving away in their 700 series and their SLKs. And I'm like, all right, how much travel's involved? He's like, none. I'm like, all right, I think
Wow.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
So long story short, he was the director of operations for iHeartRadio. He designed and built the app and then sold it to
Oh,
Clear
no kidding.
Channel.
Okay.
Clear Channel brought him on as director of operations. He wrote this glowing recommendation letter for me, and I got my foot in the door. And I wish I'd have found this job 25 years ago. I love
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
it's a
And
lot
that
of fun.
and that's what you're doing now.
Correct.
Never thinking you'd be in sales. So tell me, was your buddy correct?
Yes.
He was. He
Yes.
was. So
I've got
explain the type of sales and what working with iHeart is like, and how you're able to still carry your whole be who you are in the job you're doing.
no. I love that part because it's sales is all about relationships. They don't buy your product; they buy you first. They
Right.
trust you, they like you, then they're going to want to do business with you if
Hmm.
they believe what you believe.
Right.
And so with iHeart, we're the largest media company in North America. There's only 3 companies in North America that reach over 250 million people every month: Google, Facebook, and iHeart. And right now, we reach 70 million more Americans than Google and 100 million more than Facebook every month.
Unbelievable. And we got to hear more about that instead of hearing about the other two. All right.
Yeah.
Start
So
advertising.
no, I love it. And people think of iHeart as just radio or just the
Mhm.
app, and
Yeah.
a couple big concerts or festivals a year. Um, but we're the number one radio platform in the country. We're the number one podcast platform in the country with over 440 million monthly downloads of our podcasts.
Wow.
We produce ourselves over 2,000 podcasts. You can hear us on every platform there is. We're the number one ad served streaming audio network. We're one of the number one OTT ad providers or
What
connected.
does OTT stand for?
Stands for over the top television, but it's kind of an antiquated word now. People think of it as connected TV. So if you're watching TV through a Roku or an Apple TV or
Hmm.
Samsung Smart TV, that's over the top television.
Oh, okay.
Um, we do targeted emails, geofencing, mobile blueprinting, manage social media campaigns, display, video pre-roll. The way I describe what we do is pretty much everything you can imagine that's marketing except for print. And if they need print, I refer them to my buddy Adam Kemper.
There we go. Yep. No, Adam Wealth from you.
Yep.
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 So it really is something that sells itself. So you certainly are able to just to do the relationship, build relationships, and you offer a product that runs the gamut for an organization. It adds so much value, but I think the relationship you have with your clients adds so much value to your clients that it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. You know, I've been doing this for 10.5 years now, and I have clients that have been with me for 10 years.
Right, right.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
You know, we like each other. You maintain the relationship, you serve them well, and you make sure that whatever you're selling them is working.
Absolutely. So when you say, what are you selling them? Is it advertisement time? Is it okay?
Great. Well, anything to do with this. So I come in and just kind of figure out. By the time I meet with somebody, I've looked at their LinkedIn profile, I've looked at their social media, I've looked
Mhm.
at their website. We have a lot of tools in the industry that tell us like where are they spending money, how much impressions are they buying on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis, in what market.
Mhm.
Um, are they buying it direct? Are they working with an agency? And so I have a good idea of what they're doing, what their messaging is. But I sit down with people and I say, like, why do you want people to know about you? What do you want people to think or believe about your business? What do you want them to do by
Mhm.
where, when, and why? And how are you going to hold me accountable? How are you going to judge me versus that this is success?
Mhm.
And then we build our campaign from the ground up to hit those KPIs for them.
Wow. So how do you think your changing from your shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset has helped you thrive in the industry you're in and helped you be do better service for your clients?
Uh, so when I first got here, there was hardly any training.
Okay.
They gave you a stack of books about this big
Yeah.
and sat me in front of a green screen, CRT
Yep.
computer, and said, "Go through these modules." I'm 100% commission. I'm like, well, this is going to take me months to get through this. So I came in just from the relationship I built in the insurance industry. I had 3 pages, front and back, double column on legal pad of different people I wanted to reach out to see if they were interested in advertising. Um, and so at first it was just you got to sell, you got to sell, you got to sell, right? But over time, that's transitioned to just build relationships with people.
Right.
I'm not a big BNI guy, or I don't like to go to big networking groups.
Mhm.
I do belong to a chamber of commerce, but I'm more like one-on-one relationship. I like to get to know somebody. I don't want to like speed date like you have to do when you go to one of
Right.
those big networking groups.
Right. Right. Right.
So that's what I do. I get to know people, and I get to know so many cool people in this job. My
Mhm.
favorite part about my job is introducing other people to other people, as you know.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm going to butcher this paraphrase, but it's Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people in life get what they want, you'll always have what you want.
Absolutely.
And so I've kind of changed my philosophy to like, let me just make introductions for people that I think would be valuable for them.
Beautiful.
And we'll always couch it as, is this going to be a referral introduction for you? Is this a potential client for you?
Hmm.
Introduce me, let them take it from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to say that people you've introduced me to are good human beings. And I think that's what you and I spoke about. That's always our first criteria in
Yeah.
talking with people, to make sure they're good human beings first, and everything else like falls into place
Yeah.
after that. So,
I think most people in business operate under this banner, but it's, do business with people that you know, people that you like, and people that you trust.
right.
If any one of those three things is missing, it's not going to be a pleasurable relationship. It's not going to be fruitful. It's going to end at some point. So you might as well just cut it off to begin with.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting because that phrase, I learned that in BNI, ironically.
It's funny.
And in thinking through that, I agree with it to an extent with a twist. The know and the like, yes, because I've had friends I know and like, and I wouldn't trust doing business with them. And then so what I thought about is, how would I define trust? What does it take for me to trust doing business with somebody? So trust now to me is, A, they and their message has to resonate with me. That'll be part one. Part two, I need to be able to respect them as human beings and respect their philosophy. And three, inspiration. can they inspire me? So I have like this formula now: trust equals respect, resonate. I think in that order: respect, resonate, inspire. And so when you add it together, no, like trust in that context, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
You know, it's funny. I'm thinking of a client right now that last year they were my biggest client.
right, right.
Family run business, loved the couple dearly. Um, Through no fault of their own, they ended up having to file bankruptcy and close up shop.
Oh boy.
Well, I got stiffed and have to pay back $30,000 in commission.
Oh boy.
Um, he came over to my house a couple weekends ago. We had a cigar together, drank some beer together,
Oh,
and like all my friends and my wife were like, "What? How could you do that? I can't believe that guy did that to you, and you still are hanging out with him." I'm like, "Look, man, you got to separate. He was a victim of what happened to him. He had to let 49 people go.
yeah.
He had to get rid of his business. He lost his house. It's not like he intended to do this, and
Mm-mm.
so yeah, it
Absolutely.
sucks that I have to pay back the commission, but it doesn't mean he's a bad person. And you got to be able
Absolutely.
to separate the two. I still know him. I still like him. I still trust him because we talked the whole way through the process and I knew it was coming.
You know, it's interesting, Jack, because I do talk about this fixed and growth versus growth mindset. That's a growth mindset, what you were carrying and how you practice that. Because if you had that fixed mindset, it would have been, look what you did to me. Because a lot
Right.
of times a blame or a victim mindset is in that fixed mentality. But good for you, because again, it was a circumstance that happened to him, and it wasn't like he said, okay, let me go screw Jack Gelley,
Right.
no, good for you. All right, so we could talk forever, and I know
Yeah.
we get a chance to talk a lot, which is awesome. But I want to ask you a couple questions to round this out, and then we'll let the audience get to know how to get in touch with you. So you're sitting down with young Jack. He's 7 to 10 years old. And he says, hey, Dad, can you give me some advice about life? And you scratch your head and say, okay, so this is young Jack. What are you going to tell him?
Uh, don't care what people think about you. You know, be yourself.
Beautiful. Which is a very challenging thing for a kid 7 to 10 to do.
Mm-hmm. Heck,
And
it's challenging for a 54-year-old to do.
me too. Yeah, you're right. And it's something that it would be beautiful if we were all taught that at a young age. More often than not, no, though, even our mentor or role models had an issue or a challenge with that. Yeah, it's not easy. Great advice, though. All right, now young Jack has grown up and he wants to go out in business, whether it's entrepreneurship or work for somebody. And again, young Jack comes to current Jack and says, "Can you give me some advice on going out and launching my business career?" What are you going to tell him?
Know why you're going into the business you're going into.
Mhm,
Don't just jump into something without knowing
mhm.
and make it all about the relationship.
I love it. I love it. I love that. And then, it's interesting then. So you take those two pieces of advice, don't care what other people think about you, and then build those relationships. And it does get challenging when you're building relationships, how you differentiate the somebody liking you versus somebody respecting you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that distinction is one of the most challenging things when you're building relationships.
Yep. You know, it's funny. The Bible talks about what women's roles are and what men's roles are,
Mhm.
and it says, "Men love your wives, women respect your husbands." I mean,
Yeah,
God knows what we need. Like it's easy for us uh, to give respect, but not really to love as
true.
men.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
and I'm generalizing, but it's much easier for a woman to love her husband and not so much respect him. So that's why he had said, because he knows what we need to be re-energized, and he knows what the woman needs to be re-energized.
That very enlightening, and the what yeah, that's a good point, because um I'm a firm believer in men and women think differently, and we need to acknowledge that, and then each gender needs to be open to learning the thinking language of the other gender, which is exactly what you're talking about, that God phrased that in an exact way, knowing what he, like the platinum rule, right?
Right.
Instead of the do unto others as you would do unto others as you know they would want. And that's
Yeah.
exactly how God phrased it in the Bible. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, certainly the essence of Jack Gelley has come out today, and there are going to be people who are going to want to reach out to you or get to know you. What is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
I'll give you my cell. It's 720-413-6324.
Beautiful.
And then my email is my first name and last name, Jack Gelley, Gelley @iheartmedia.com.
Beautiful. Well, Jack, I don't have any brothers, Jack. Since I've met you, I can say at least I have one, and I'm very grateful. You and I are friends and in each other's lives. And thank you
I
for
agree.
coming on and sharing your story. And it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, Drew. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, take care and be well. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.